Oh, they put us under pursuit though. Yeah, it says pursuit. It was like the live banner, and it says pursuit, and then it like then underneath it it says anti-ICE rally. Don, you figured it out on the first try. Yeah, it is definitely a caravan making its way out of South Los Angeles because we're not allowed to say South Central anymore. Did you know that? I don't think anybody gets offended by that, but for some time there, I guess we weren't allowed to say South Central. But anyways, it's coming northbound. That's going to be on Central. And if you guys want to hear me rant about something that has nothing to do with, well, it does everything to do with us watching this, but yeah, LAX is just like, no, can't come into our airspace. All this pretty much, Simba, all you can see right there with your eyes, that's all LAX's airspace, and they will not let us in there. So yeah, and I don't know why. And I guess that's the thing. Thank goodness the guy in the back seat in this aircraft can't get on the aircraft radios because I guess it's in bad form. And I'm not making fun of my pilot. I'm not making fun of you, Chris, but it's in bad form to question why. Like if the tower says, "Hey, you can't come in here," or your request is denied, it isn't up for debate. It's not like you're talking to your parents apparently. So we will never know because I didn't give them a phone number to call when I'm back on the ground to explain to me why we can't go in there. But at any rate, that's the protest down there. That white van, that right there, I would venture to say is a news vehicle. News, and the rest of them are the 50 vehicles that are protesting the ICE raids. And again, the big plan is to make their way up here. I saw the address. It's something on Main Street. I would venture to say it's either going to be the federal building or it's either going to be the federal building or City Hall. I just looked down and solo rider. Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear you. Oh, Popeye, who's going to arrest them? Yeah, I learned my lesson. I gotta give you, I gotta say like, hey, I'm answering because otherwise, yeah, that's something like that's gonna happen again. Autumn Sky makes me think of 007 for some reason. I don't know why. And Linus is down there throwing out the Schwarz, Rot, and Gelb. I love the. Yeah, Justin definitely is on vacation. You're going to be missing the golden tones, the velvety Australian tones for about 3 weeks. Yeah. I find that to be an interesting argument that, who was here first, and everybody just kind of assumes, you know, that it was Hispanics, it was Spain that conquered Mexico, and then it was the Aztecs or the Mayans that were down there that were originally there. But who says that they're the originals? There could have been Native Americans up here at some point, before the other people. So I don't, I don't know. Just don't buy into that. I think, I think that you guys got to come up with a better argument. That's Yeah. There's too many holes in that one. So I can, you know, tell you that we, meaning myself and my cats and my daughter and her daughter, because they came over to the house to use they come over to visit me. Don't get it twisted, but I just happen to have a washer and dryer, so they're using the washer and dryer. But um, yeah, so she, granddaughter's at daycare. She puts in a couple loads. She goes off to grab some groceries, and she comes back, and lo and behold, the street's blocked. And she's sending me these pictures, and I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be a couple minutes because usually it's like bing, bang, boom, done." Well, that turned out to be hours and hours and hours and hours. And I'm not 100% on it because if I'm not working, believe me, man, I'm not the sticking my nose in everybody's business guy. I'm the exact opposite. It's like I find they finally moved their little perimeter a little bit, and you could find a way like around it. And by the time I got home, that I could do that. And then I told her, but it was hours before they opened up the roads and they actually left. And so yeah, it was an inconvenience. I can say that it was definitely an inconvenience. And I think because I saw some video on the ground, I think that was the Iranian guy that they got. That was a big deal. And again just saw a blurb I think on IG. Where do I get my news? That'd be Fox News. No, yeah, I saw something on Instagram and I just kind of glanced at it, but or maybe it was Fox. Maybe it was Fox on IG. But at any rate, so there you go. I'm personally impacted by what is going on down there. Oh, let's see what's going to happen here. And this is the thing too. If this was all vetted, then why does the fire truck not know not to take Central northbound because of this little thing going on right there? Oh, can we transition? He's going to turn. I'm being serious. He might hit Manchester and make a turn to the east. And if he doesn't, I don't know what we're going to do. Copy. We have a pursuit going on out here, and this is going to be in the Baldwin Hills area. Actually, Ladera Heights is where we just entered. Now we can see that white Maserati right there. Then it is making its way onto it's been on La Brea. It's been running red lights, but it's staying south. Sorry about that. Anyways, we're making our way on La Brea southbound. This is going to be very difficult for Skyfox because we're starting to get into that LAX area, and I was hoping that he would make a turn, but he's been staying south on La Brea. Even the LAPD airship is going to have to make some sort of decision, but they have the guys on the ground. You can see two of them right there. Domestic violence is about the best we're going to say right now for what that suspect is originally wanted for, but I can tell you that that vehicle has been running red lights, pretty much every red light, as we make our way up to another major right here. Now the vehicle speeds, well, let's just say reasonable. Haven't been extremely high. There you go through another red light right there, but it's been continuing southbound on this on La Brea, and it's just been originally wanted for. But I can tell you that that vehicle has been running red lights, pretty much every red light, as we make our way up to another major right here. Now the vehicle speeds, well, let's just say reasonable. Haven't been extremely high. There you go through another red light right there, but it's been continuing southbound on this on La Brea, and it's just been making its way into the LAX's airspace. Hopefully he'll make a turn here somewhere, otherwise Skyfox might have to break off for a little bit to reacquire this pursuit. But LAPD, they're definitely on the ground right there, two vehicles. This has been going on for a few minutes. It was off of Western for the longest amount of time, started over by the Coliseum and made its way over here to La Brea, and then it made that turn to the south. But the driver is continuing running the red lights. You can see right there those speeds, they are about what the freeway speed should be. We are actually in the Inglewood area right now, and that vehicle continues to move southbound. LAPD staying right behind it in full pursuit. Another red light right there. Every time that happens, I got to tell you, my heart does kind of skip a beat because I'm always worried for any of the civilians that might be in that area that may be caught in that cross traffic.
Hey, Stu, so do we know how many people are in this car? Well, right now we know that there definitely is just the driver in there, and you can see it's continuing southbound. And again, when they have these domestic dispute type of calls, those are usually the most dangerous for LAPD in general. Not sure exactly how this started, and we heard something about, and again, this is also unconfirmed information, something about that driver possibly being following a bus with the spouse in there, or the partner in that bus, and that's what got LAPD's attention. When they got behind it, that's when that pursuit started. Chris doing an amazing job with Skyfox. We keep climbing just to keep this shot up. I'm hopeful that he'll make a turn somewhere around here and make this easier for us, because I don't want to break away from it. But right now we still have pretty clear view of it, but we can't make our way any farther south because of the traffic landing at LAX. So we're kind of staying here. The car is continuing to go farther and farther away. Are they pit approved? Well, LAPD, we heard the word a couple of times, but we haven't seen an opportunity for that unit to be able to make that pit maneuver. So right now you can see that vehicle just continuing southbound on La Brea, running almost every red light. LAPD doing what they can to stay behind it. My pilot Chris doing an amazing job. We're actually making our way over to the 405, but at this altitude we can keep an eye on what's going on as long as it doesn't get behind these buildings. But again, Brooke, this is a pursuit, domestic violence suspect in there, and again, usually those are generally one of the most dangerous type of calls. And you can see that vehicle making a driving over the center divider right there, so possibly making a U-turn. I got to get a hold of my pilot Chris. He's making a U-turn. He's going northbound. He's going northbound, Chris.
The direction they came from,
He did hear me.
Stu, on one note, obviously domestic dispute calls are known to be some of the most dangerous for officers, and also traffic calls of any kind known to be the most dangerous. And so this in some ways pairs the two. And so you can just kind of put in perspective the importance of getting this vehicle off the road.
Definitely, and whenever it's anything domestic, it always becomes emotional, and when the emotions are involved, all reason. Most of the time, when we follow these pursuits, people ask me, "Is like, what do you think they're thinking?" You don't think they're thinking much of anything, and when you start throwing emotions in there, it really just opens up the door for something that could end poorly. We're actually making a U-turn, so we are going to be getting closer to it. That car continuing on. Now we're on the wrong side of the road right there. Now making its way northbound on La Brea, basically just going back from the same direction where it came. But the speeds, I gotta say, for some reason they're staying in relatively well, now I'm seeing 70 miles an hour. I don't think they're actually going 70 miles an hour, but they've been relatively normal. I'm not saying anything outrageous, but definitely continuing to weave in and out traffic, getting close to other vehicles, driving on the wrong side of the road. Anytime that any of that's happening, I'm always more worried about the other vehicles that are on the road with that driver.
Yeah, obviously, this is actually where I used to live, La Brea and Cincinnati. They're right there. So I know just how busy this area is, even around this time of day, and not just cars, but people crossing the street, pedestrians walking up and down the streets. This is a busy area, even if you're not totally able to see it from the video here, Stu. But, can you tell us a little bit of what you know about this area?
Well, I'm just kind of along with you. I have a friend of mine that lives in this general area as well. But right now, we're actually making our way out of that area, and making our way back into the Baldwin Hills area. I kind of wonder if this car is going back to the original where it started, because basically it just made a U-turn and now is heading back north on La Brea and heading back towards Jefferson. We'll see what happens. There's the LAPD helicopter now using that center divider. That one LAPD unit was relatively close at many times. Look how close that car is to the suspect. So possibly we might see a pit maneuver if it is able. Like right now, you couldn't do it. You have all those other vehicles around there. But if there's an opportunity that presents itself, we might actually see a pit maneuver try to bring this thing to an end. But LAPD, they're doing what they can to keep the public safe right now. They got lights and sirens on. That's the only thing they can do. That driver, that suspect running from the law enforcement right now, still maybe in an emotional normal state, but definitely trying to keep away from the law enforcement. Not a good situation at all. At least we're staying in the right lanes, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of traffic with that vehicle. And again, LAPD, they are in pursuit. The suspect wanted for some sort of domestic situation.
Yeah, police pretty close behind this car, and just obviously it seems obvious, but just watching the car go, down the turning lane, in the center lane, driving straight down the whole time, slowly moving through these very busy intersections. This is just incredibly dangerous.
Whoa.
Oh,
definitely dangerous.
Bike, yeah.
Did you see that right there? It looked like that car was actually making now we're on the wrong side of the road, was making a beeline for that pedestrians, the bicyclists. It was like almost a threatening move. A lot of times, look at that. Oh, geez. Could you just imagine being right here, on Stalker right here?
That's what I just keep thinking of. You just have no idea what's coming.
Yeah, and you're kind of stuck in those lanes right there. They had the center divider. Now we're back on the right side of the road, but you're just driving along on Stalker, and then all of a sudden you've got this car going the wrong way. And then they had an LAPD vehicle there as well. They do what they can, and a lot of times I've talked to a lot of folks about that, and they're just like, why don't they just ram it? Why don't they just? Because you just can't. That's not you. You just can't do that. It just doesn't work that way, especially here in Los Angeles. So they have protocol in place, and they cannot just smash into a suspect's vehicle, and especially somebody. And again, we haven't heard the words of any kind of being armed, but they always have to assume the worst and hope for the best. That's basically law enforcement in its finest. That's the best they can do. Right now, though, you got the LAPD in force behind it. You got a number of vehicles again following. Again, luckily, we are back on the right side of the road, or the correct side of the road, but that vehicle continues to elude officers, and hopefully we're not going to see any kind of posturing like we saw just moments ago, where that vehicle apparently, or seemed like it was actually targeting some pedestrians there on the side of the road. Thank goodness nobody got hurt. But again, this pursuit's continuing out here. Now we're in the Windsor Park area. And again, speeds, well, they are above whatever the posted limit is. But that vehicle, as well as I do, that Maserati can do a lot better than that, and it is keeping within reason. But still, as far as any other laws of street laws, not at all. Wrong side of the road, running red lights, anything you can imagine.
It is terrifying if you just, you're just an unsuspecting driver. It's lunch hour, during a holiday week, and people are just trying to get where they're going. And look at this. And, it almost gets more dangerous when things slow down. These cars there are following the rules, obviously stopped at a light. Look at that. It's one of those things you were just talking, Stu, about the fact that, people often ask, why can't you just stop them? But even when following protocol, these pursuits are often very, very dangerous, and often sometimes deadly for unsuspecting drivers who just happen to be on the road.
Brooke, that is the thing that I always worry about. Law enforcement, they I've said this before in the past as well. They are concerned about the safety of that suspect as well as anybody else around that vehicle. They are responsible for everything that's happening in that pursuit. But my fears have always been more, let's just say, grounded. I worry about any of the people that are around this car. Like you said, unsuspecting people, you're just going about your day, and then you've got this person barreling through red lights, running from law enforcement. And that's when the tragedies happen. We've seen it in the past. Don't want to see it again. You've just saw that vehicle making all these crazy turns, now starting to weave in and out of traffic. I'm wondering if LAPD is actually backed off because of that driving, and then now just in more of a tracking mode. The helicopter's still above it, but coming up on a solid red right there. Thank goodness there were no other vehicles there, and now making another turn. Now we're back onto Jefferson, and this is where this thing started. This is where we picked this up earlier on. So basically making a big giant loop. Don't know what's going on. Hopefully this person is working through whatever emotions they might be having right now, and might come up with a relatively calm answer and just pull over, get out of that vehicle, try and run. But, let's just hope that nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, that's the hope there. And, on that note, we just had a close call, Stu. I want to show our viewers that one more time. We saw that close call with a bike that scared the two of us. Look at that. The car was going in just such a direction directly towards the person on the bike. You can imagine the fear. You have no idea what's going on. Hopefully, they're hearing the sirens, but things just happen so quickly. That guy there on the bike looking that way,
Yeah, and you saw, oh, look at this. I guess we're going home.
Seems like they're pulling into the driveway there.
Looks like they're pulling into a back of an apartment complex right here. This is definitely going to be off of West Street, and you got some folks out front. Well, Skyfox is going to move around. We're going to try to get to the back there, but clearly there's something that these folks know what's going on. That vehicle stopping, the door open. Sorry, we are. We get to see that suspect getting out of the vehicle. And just basically kind of park the vehicle and getting inside. You know, maybe not the most dramatic ending, but definitely the endings that we want to see. Like right now, that vehicle definitely stopped. Law enforcement, you can see the helicopter above. Officers arriving here on scene. This may turn into some sort of standoff, but clearly that driver parking the vehicle, going inside this apartment complex. We're going to listen in and see if we can get some information about what the officers are going to do. Oh, never mind. Oh, no.
All right, we're going to...
That's not the ending. So the shots have been fired. The suspect is definitely down. And apparently he came out to the front, and he did have a weapon and was posturing, and now that suspect is down. Brooke, I don't know if we can get in any tighter because there are family members down there as well, but definitely shots fired and definitely that suspect.
You know, and, well, it's hard to watch. Obviously, I want to apologize. This video is hard to watch for anyone at home, Stu, but, when the driver parked the car behind this apartment building there, I saw him get out of the driver's side, and he seemed to be holding his leg, and my first thought was, was there a weapon or is he hurt? There seemed to be something going on there. Just to update anyone who's just tuning in right now. Obviously, this pursuit has ended in the West Adams area, obviously in a way that we weren't hoping for. This suspect, this started with an assault with a deadly weapon call, a domestic violence suspect that police chased in a white Maserati. This is another person it seems like police are taking into custody there, Stu. This person was standing at the beginning at the front of the house.
I have to be very careful on what I show on television right now because we are live. But these are people that probably, I would venture to say, know that suspect. They are taking them into custody because I don't think any charges are going to be filed against him. But apparently that suspect did come out from behind the building and was posturing towards officers. And then the shots were fired. Those two made their way over to that suspect. Now law enforcement is going to go over there. It is for us, thank goodness, that suspect underneath the tree. So we can't actually see what's going on right now. But I do know for a fact that suspect is down and bleeding. There's another person that was with that suspect on the ground. You can see that clearly very, very emotional. Right. And again, this is one of those times when officers, they have to separate family members from the ones that are injured because of their actions.
Very emotional scene. There were actually a group of people standing in the front of the apartment building when the car kind of pulled up and zoomed through that driveway going to the parking lot in the back. And I do remember seeing those red shorts. And so, obviously you can't imagine what they just saw. And police have to try and keep the peace while they do their jobs. And so that's probably a bit of what's going on right there. And lots of emotions.
Yeah, and lots of emotions indeed, and also this is definitely a holiday weekend. But all that put aside, right now I know that an ambulance has been called to this location. They will be arriving here shortly. If there's anything that they can do for that victim, maybe even some of the LAPD officers are able to offer some sort of aid. But right now, a number of officers, that suspect definitely down. Again, I don't want to put anything on television that that I will regret showing later on. So right now you have that suspect down in the driveway here off of West Boulevard in the West Adams area, and what an unfortunate ending. It didn't have to end like this. And that suspect coming out apparently with a weapon, and shots were fired, and now that suspect is down. I can't say his condition, but I can tell you that law enforcement taking family members away right now from this area. And other officers still here, and of course we are waiting for the paramedics to show up.
Of course, I know, Stu, you said multiple times, there was just a hope that this would end peacefully, that no one involved would get hurt. This is actually a fairly short situation too. I believe this call came in around 12:45. This started in the Jefferson Park area. We saw going through Inglewood, down La Brea, ending here in West Adams, right outside of an apartment building.
Right, and that the vehicle's still in the back there, and that driver again. We've said it in the past, and you and I talked about it even during this chase. Is any kind of domestic violence calls are the most dangerous for law enforcement, and here again you see why people thinking with their emotions and maybe not the most rational, but definitely very very emotional, very and just making the wrong calls this afternoon. It was some sort of pursuit. There's the vehicle in the back. He definitely parked it. I thought he went into the building. Apparently.
So did I.
He chose to come around. Yeah, he chose to come around the side there. And as soon as we came around to the front, I definitely saw those shots being fired, and that suspect went down. The investigation is going to be going on. They're going to figure out exactly what happened. There's probably plenty of body cam footage, so they'll be able to, know exactly what happened. But again, what a tragic ending to a short pursuit this afternoon.
Incredibly, again, this is not what anyone hoped for, what anyone wanted to see. We were all hoping for this to end peacefully. It was a pretty slow pursuit for the majority of us, doing right at the end. The speed started to pick up, and then you saw that quick turn into an apartment building in this residential area. He parked, and it happened so quickly. He parked the car. The car, you could even see in the back, is just kind of like pulled up, not actually parked. Door still open. The suspect runs out of the car. And again, it happened so quickly that I actually thought he went through the building. But then you could see from your point of view, he ran up the side of the building, and we all saw what happened there.
Yeah.
At the end. Obviously, we'll get more updated information from police as soon as we can for you. But this is, it's a hard day, I'm sure, for many people just in this neighborhood in general. They're walking out of their doors trying to figure out what's happening. Again, this is a holiday week, and you got to wonder how this all started and whether everyone else is okay.
Yeah, definitely. And we don't know the relationships between any of these folks and that suspect that's down. That the elderly woman that's very emotional right there. I can't imagine if that is a relative of hers, to have that happen like right in front of her, and then be there when it's coming to an end. Now we have more officers running towards the apartment building. I did see that there was somebody that did come out earlier on and then went back inside the apartment building. I'm not sure what that portion of it is, but more officers making their way inside that apartment building. And again, I'm not saying it in any kind of other way because it's just been a few moments, but I'm wondering where that ambulance is. I'm hoping, maybe there's a chance that they could do something for that suspect.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Stu. Again, just for anyone who's just tuning in, just want to let everyone know we're at the end of a pursuit here in the West Adams area. This started around 12:45 this afternoon. Again, not too long ago. Police say they got a call about an assault with a deadly weapon. It turned into, officers chasing a domestic violence suspect in a white Maserati through Inglewood, ending here in West Adams, right outside of this apartment building. And it ended with shots fired. And you can see police are detaining, it seems, just trying to get out of the way a group of very emotional people. And yeah, right now we're waiting on an ambulance.
Definitely, we're waiting on that ambulance to arrive out here. And it's just, you got the Amazon guy down there. It's just a normal day, and then this incident happens. It just unfolds around you. I really just feel for the family members right there. That clearly the one woman now on the ground probably can't stand up right now. And again, people might be watching, and even I'm a little bit like, do we really have to cuff them? But they do. They really do, because you need to kind of keep them contained. Otherwise, that woman might do something to try to get back over there that will escalate in another situation. So, law enforcement, they have their protocols. They have the way that they do the things they do because they have learned in the past what could happen. And right now, you've just had a lot of officers still running around. And again, I'm wondering that the ambulance probably still en route, but I'm not sure. It's like I don't want to get too close to that suspect to really see what's going on, because I don't want to put anything that unfortunate on the screen right now. But I venture to say they may still be talking to that suspect. There is the ambulance right now. They might actually be having to move some of those police cars to let the paramedics in. That might be some of it as well. But you can see the LA City Fire Department now starting to arrive, and that might be why the officers are running. They're running to get back to their vehicles to let the paramedics make their way into this area.
You know, you can just imagining the emotions of the people on the ground there. That was hard for the two of us to watch. Obviously, no real connection to this. No, we don't know the suspect's name at this time. We don't know the suspect, and it was hard to watch. So I imagine there is a large group of people, as you even just noticed, an Amazon driver. People, you don't know the relation to the people down there. Maybe they're neighbors. Maybe they know this person. Maybe they don't. It was just still a very emotional and tough to watch ending of this pursuit here in West Adams.
Definitely. And again, you can see law enforcement moving out of the way. Paramedics are going to make their way up over to that suspect and see if there's anything that they can do, render any kind of aid. I'm still very hopeful. There is a possibility. Officers are still very, very close by. And usually that means, because I've seen a lot of this in the past, that person has not passed away. So that they're staying with that suspect. In the past, I've seen it, where they clearly know that the suspect has passed. They will just kind of walk away just kind of keep it more pristine for the investigation. The officers are still there. So I'm hopeful that there is something that paramedics can do. Again, this first engine arriving here, these are going to be paramedics, but we're still waiting on that ambulance. That's going to be the person or the vehicle that's going to transport that suspect, hopefully, to a hospital. But right now, like you said, Brooke, it is so difficult to watch something like that, and especially when you have emotions running high. We don't, like you said, we don't know the relationship at all, but just see those type of emotions, and we all know people, and you just think to yourself that could be somebody. You fill in the blank with somebody that you personally know, and you just identify with what's going on. Paramedics making their way over there now. The first paramedics are starting to work on that suspect. So we'll keep an eye on it and see where it goes from here.
All right, Stu. Obviously, thanks for this. This was, again, tough, emotional, tough to watch, and really scary throughout the entirety of this pretty short pursuit. It did get very dangerous in ways. The driver going down the wrong side of the road, in the center lane, in the turning lane, running red lights, almost, running up on a sidewalk where a man with a bike was. Just for those of you who are just tuning in, this started, police say, with a call, assault with a deadly weapon. They say this was a domestic violence suspect. This started in the Jefferson Park area. We saw this go through Inglewood, ending here in West Adams, where the suspect pulled a white Maserati through the back of this apartment building, running up on the side, where this ended with shots fired. Again, we will have full details on the Fox 11 News at 5. Stu, just not at all how we wanted to see this end.
Definitely not how we wanted to see it end at all. And I was so hopeful that it was just going to be a peaceful ending and just going to go inside the apartment. But that's the thing. Things change so quickly, so quickly.
That's part of this. Things change so quickly. This started with such a slow pursuit, and it
this in surveillance mode, but now that he's made some of these moves, they have given permission for the ground units to re-engage. However, they have fallen back a little bit, and now you see he's got a lot of residential street to play with here without anybody behind him. He's basically zigzagging his way through the streets of Southwest LA, doing about 35, 40 miles per hour, making very random turns. If there is a unit in the area, they were looking for a spike strip, but right now these turns appear to be too random, and he's traveling too fast to really set up for a successful spike strip. So we'll see if there's anybody else inside the vehicle. A strong indication that he may be looking for an opportunity to just dump this vehicle based on some of these moves here, or he could keep it going. You just never know what's going through this guy's mind. It does not look like there's anybody in the passenger seat. And again, David, we do not know what the original want was here for this vehicle.
We're getting some reports that it is a robbery suspect out of the South LA station. We do know that there's some damage there to the passenger side, but we're not sure if that happened during this pursuit or not. But certainly driving erratically enough to have that kind of.
Chris, have you heard of any collisions that he might have gotten into during this pursuit?
We have not received word of any collisions, not to say that there haven't been any, but we are not aware of any, and it's certainly unclear whether this vehicle belongs to the suspect. We say robbery suspect. We do not know if this vehicle was involved in the original crime. Maybe a carjacking, that could be a robbery, or maybe it is a GTA suspect with other crimes related to a robbery, or it is his vehicle. We just don't know. So a lot of questions, but to answer your direct question, that passenger side damage unclear at this point where it came from. A lot of unknowns here as they try and catch up with this suspect. Right now, he is continuing to move through South LA without anybody behind him. And I think as of now, LA County Sheriff is keeping an eye on him with their helicopter. So they do have eyes on the suspect. It'll be interesting to see if they keep this in surveillance mode or do decide to re-engage, considering where he is here. Again, we're traveling westbound on 58th Place, coming up just past Buckler, continuing west here through, I want to say this is like the Baldwin Hills area, or just south of Baldwin Hills. Now making a southbound turn. That's going to bring him much closer to LAX, and there are the black and whites, 2 SUVs in position, now making a left turn with him as he continues southbound on Overhill Drive. Again, a street that's going to take him right into LAX's approach path, which would basically force them to call off that helicopter, and it'll come down to those ground units who are following right behind. We saw 2 of them. 2 black and whites, now not too far behind the suspect, who was traveling at about 60 miles per hour down a residential street. Another close call there as he made a wild right turn as that street came to an end, now turning onto Fairview Boulevard, again traveling at a high rate of speed through residential streets.
Always a dangerous situation when they go through these residential streets, especially this time of night. 6 o'clock in the evening, a lot of people heading out. It's been so hot during the day, but watching this guy drive right through, plowing through these red lights and stop signs as well.
You just saw where there's almost a collision between the police pursuing him and somebody who is flying through that intersection coming the other direction, and that's part of the danger of these high-speed pursuits.
It was a great example of why they have to treat this so much more carefully than the driver, because he just flew right through that red light and there was cross traffic. Had that black and white, that primary unit, not stopped for that red light, there would have been a major collision right there with that cross traffic. So he came to a full stop. Even with the lights and sirens on, they have to come to that stop, and then they will continue the pursuit through these busy intersections here. Here comes a busier intersection, La Cienega and Fairview Boulevard, right through the red light, around traffic, into cross traffic, making the right turn, and narrowly missing that cross traffic there with vehicles flying through that red light, or they had the green light, and now he's making the northbound turn onto La Cienega Boulevard. Those units behind him may have fallen back a little bit. Again, they will come to a complete stop at that intersection. He actually, for a brief time, went into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around that red light into the northbound side of La Cienega Boulevard, and now looking for an exit opportunity here. This is a transition road, I believe, that he'll put it back onto surface streets. There's a black and white unit right there. That may be LAPD. They may or may not know what's going on, but here's those sheriff's deputies, 2 of them, those 2 SUVs, managing to navigate that busy intersection, and still right behind him as he makes a left turn going westbound on Slauson Avenue over the median, desperate to get around these busy intersections. He's going right into oncoming lanes of traffic to get around and dodge all of those brake lights there, and they again are in a position where they have to fall back. So a very desperate driver behind the wheel here who is not showing signs of giving up anytime soon. If there was any hope of him dumping the vehicle, it appears that the pressure they are applying is putting him in a mental state where he is just gunning it. He's basically blowing through every red light in town and putting a lot of lives at risk at the same time here. Not afraid to go the wrong way on some of these busier streets here. Again, we are in the middle of rush hour as he continues westbound Slauson Avenue, coming up on Bristol Parkway in the left turn lanes, only to go straight through here, cutting everybody off over the double yellow paint. And now you can see they are going to try and keep up with him. But this is getting more dangerous by the second, guys, just by the erratic driving that we're seeing here.
Absolutely. He's refusing to stop. He's run a couple of more red lights. Luckily, that last one turned right at the last second, so he was able to get through it as people were just getting underway. So he dodged a bullet on that one as well. But there's no response time with the speeds that he's taking, and it's only a matter of time before he collides with somebody. Hopefully, they could hear the lights and sirens coming their way. That's one hope, and they have now 3 units behind him.
I mean, he was barely even braking at those red lights, and now he's made a right turn. He had the green light there, made a right turn northbound Sepulveda Boulevard. 3 LA County Sheriff's deputies now right behind him, and you saw in that shot just a moment ago the helicopter right above him. And as he travels northbound on Sepulveda Boulevard, it'll be much easier for that airship right there to stay right overhead. They will have a very clear view of this vehicle and even inside the vehicle as he continues northbound Sepulveda Boulevard. In fact, it would not be surprising to me if they pull back on the ground. It's getting so dangerous, it would not be surprising at all if the watch commander says, listen, let's put this back in surveillance mode, and we might see those two units right there fall back considerably as long as that helicopter has eyes on that suspect. That's a judgment call they will have to make. They've already made it once, and they have put this into surveillance mode at least once or twice already. And just based on the dramatic increased danger of the driving that we're seeing here would not surprise me at all. Right now, still in pursuit mode, those units right behind him keeping a very close distance, at least as close as they can, as he continues northbound Sepulveda Boulevard.
This driver sure seems agitated enough for them to go put it into surveillance mode. We see his windshield wipers on too. It looked like through that shot that perhaps he's just one sole passenger in that car. Hopefully, for the sake of just safety, you hate to see this.
Yeah, we've been able to confirm that there's nobody in the passenger seat. It's just unclear because those windows are so heavily tinted, impossible to see in the back seat there. That is something that they probably are able to see with the infrared on that helicopter. But in any event, we just don't know. But the passenger seat does appear to be empty now, making a right turn. He is now eastbound on Culver Boulevard. Another busy intersection there, barely slowing down as he passes through Combs Avenue, heading westbound Culver Boulevard at a high rate of speed. LA County Sheriff's deputies in hot pursuit here as they continue this chase into Culver City. And as he gets further towards the east here, it's going to get much busier towards the heart of Culver City. Culver City PD obviously monitoring this pursuit as well. They will not get involved in all likelihood unless they are requested to do so. But right now, it is in the hands of those deputies now head-to-head with some of this oncoming traffic on Culver Boulevard over the median and back into the correct lanes, getting closer and closer to downtown Culver City, making a right turn on LaSalle Avenue back into a residential street. This may be the end because there are not going to be a lot of exit opportunities out of this neighborhood. He's going to have to slow down quite a bit here. Hopefully, one can only hope that he slows down. He's doing 55 miles per hour down this very residential street, hitting the dip really hard there, and he is not long for this chase. If this continues at these high rates of speeds, somebody is going to get hurt.
And at this point, you're pretty close to airspace now, aren't you?
I'm sorry?
Are you getting closer to LAX airspace?
We've moved away. We're a little further north. We're north of the Slauson boundary, and now we're well into Culver City proper, where they have good eyes on him with that sheriff helicopter, I should say. And if that doesn't work, and if there's a fuel situation with that helicopter, they will call for LAPD to continue this aerial following. But right now, LA County sheriffs are the primary agency. That helicopter is right overhead. And as far as I could tell, those deputies are not far behind him. It looks like he's slowing down, trying to squeeze through. He didn't have enough room there, trying to squeeze through a stop sign, and now he's continuing to pick up speed here on Farragut Drive at Duquesne Avenue, making a turn into oncoming lanes of traffic, trying to squeeze through, threading the needle on Duquesne, and trying to get around all of that residential traffic. But he's in oncoming lanes of traffic on the bike path now, trying to get back on the correct side. These are no more than 1 or 2 lane residential streets, back around this traffic here, doing whatever he can to get away from those pursuing officers. If they haven't already, they are almost imminently going to put this back into surveillance mode. I can't confirm whether that has happened yet, but this is about to take a step back. At least those ground units are about to take a step back as that helicopter is following close behind here. They just don't typically take that risk, at least the sheriff's department, in most situations like this. But we'll see if those units catch up to him.
Yeah, he was clocking up to 80 miles an hour on Culver. Those smaller streets going 60 miles an hour. There's no reaction time when you're moving that quickly.
Oh no! Look at this. He is gunning it, going the wrong direction on Jefferson Boulevard. Look at all of the traffic there is here. He is having to navigate traffic going in both directions, zigzagging across the median here, just trying to get around anybody in his way. And now I expect that we may see some additional mutual aid joined forces here. But look at that. Those 3 primary units are right behind him still. LA County Sheriff's Department not giving up on this guy. This is a dangerous driver behind the wheel of this vehicle. And despite whatever crimes have been committed, they may have been willing to put this into surveillance mode earlier, but it certainly appears that they are not letting up at this point. They are putting a lot of pressure on him, and that is partially the reason why I think we're seeing some of this more agitated driving. Again, you pointed out, Ellen, he's got the windshield wipers on for whatever reason. Unclear what that's about, but you know, these guys sometimes do crazy things for no reason at all, depending on their mental state and depending on what's going on inside that vehicle. But again, he's just zigzagging through a very residential street here once again in a back alley. This is Parham Drive near Wright Crest Drive and Blair Hills. These are all very residential streets with cul-de-sacs and dead ends left and right. That's why I say I just didn't think he was going to have an opportunity to get out of that maze in Culver City. We're now a little bit further south, not too far south, just south of Culver City. We might even be in the city limits, but he's continuing further south here now on Louis Avenue, turning onto Stoneview now, Stoneview Drive, as you can see on Sky Map right here. 1, 2, 3 SUVs, those Sheriff's Explorers, or Interceptors, I should say. They are Ford Explorers, highly modified Ford Explorers that are trying to catch up with the suspect.
Yeah, this the speeds are really fast. There's some tight turns, but there wasn't a lot of traffic in that area. I wonder, because they were really approaching the backside of him, if they would try to pit maneuver, maybe right here.
This might be.
He might be stuck.
Maybe. No. Oh, man, he's had a lot of opportunities to just give this up already. You know, he's had his time in the sun here, but I just tell you, he is really showing signs of desperation. You don't get the impression he's going to go very peacefully. Now it's a dead end, and now we'll see if he gives up. He's backing up. Deputies with their guns drawn, the vehicle coming to a stop. This is precarious, guys. He's come to a dead end here with deputies with their guns out, pointed squarely at that driver's seat. But the behavior that we've seen here in the last few minutes just doesn't give you a lot of confidence that he's going to surrender. Let's hope that he does. Let's just hope that he thinks twice about pulling anything wise and just opens up that driver's side door.
Right. A similar incident reminds me of the pursuit we covered last week when there was it ended with that shooting where the guy refused to take his foot off the accelerator, refused to give up, even though one hand was out the window. That's still a controversial end of a pursuit. Here we have the door open for something similar to happen here, depending on what he decides to do.
The fact that the door is still closed is not encouraging, but you're right, David. This is the most dramatic and heart-pounding point of any pursuit. The most dangerous part of a chase is when it comes to a stop, especially when the suspect feels trapped. And in a dead end like this, he's got nowhere to go. And he starts to analyze his escape routes. What are his possible options here? There are now at his disposal. He's communicating. He's agitated, rolling down the window, yelling at those deputies and not opening the door. Very animated, trying to yell at those deputies. It is not encouraging. He needs to calm down, and let's just hope that he takes a minute to relax, takes a deep breath, because right now, David, you're so right. This is looking a lot like that pursuit that came to an end exactly a week ago.
Yeah, that was really a tragic ending to that pursuit that's still being questioned. And today, right now, we're seeing that person who was in that driver's seat, which you could see how tinted those windows are, because now you can't see anything that's going on inside that vehicle because of that tint. But that person, for whatever reason, is extremely agitated. I don't know what you could be saying to law enforcement officers at this point when they have you dead to rights, you need to give up, you have nowhere to go. How do you negotiate your way out of that? This is where, when it comes to somebody's mental state, whether they're on something, all of that comes into play, and that consideration on how to handle a suspect like this when you have them at a complete standstill, and yet they will not give up.
So right about that, David. The only silver lining here is that the general public, at the moment, the general public, the folks who are just trying to get home from work, appear to be safe at this point, as he is pretty much blocked into this cul-de-sac here, this dead end just off of Wright Crest Drive in Blair Hills. He's at the driveway of a gated home right there at the end of the dead end, and those deputies basically have this entire neighborhood now locked down. So he really doesn't have anywhere to go, at least with the vehicle. Always the possibility of him trying to open the door and run for it. Not that he would get very far there, but aside from those two options, let's just hope that he surrenders peacefully here. It may take some time for him to calm down. They may call for additional units. They're going to set up spike strips just to ensure that he has nowhere else to go without immobilizing the vehicle. But if it goes on much longer, that's when they put out the call for the Special Enforcement Bureau, and then it'll be an extended standoff at that point. There you see the spike strips being set up right behind the vehicle. If he does decide to put it in reverse, that will knock out those rear tires. That will begin bleeding off air. Again, that's if he puts the vehicle back in reverse. He's showing his right hand. He's showing both hands. Both hands are out the window, but still, he's still yelling at those officers. Now, he may be yelling because it's loud, and he's trying to yell above the helicopter noise or whatever else. For whatever other reason, he is just very agitated. You could just tell how animated he is, even with his hands both being shown out the window there. They're instructing him. They're giving him very specific orders to shut the vehicle off and open that driver's side door, but he is not listening. He's doing all the talking right now.
Well, apparently to the scanner chatter they're listening to right now at our desk, there may be a baby in that vehicle. The suspect may be lying, but the deputies are asking him to roll down all the windows. They want to check on that. So his agitation, we don't know if that's reportable or not, but
well, that would be definitively the most nightmarish scenario you could think of for these deputies in this particular situation. I mean, nothing. I mean, there's virtually nothing that would give these guys second thought in terms of using force if this guy does anything dangerous or poses a threat to either the residents in this neighborhood or those deputies, except for the possibility of a child in the rear seat there. With a child or any even inclination of a child in the back seat, until they know for sure that back seat is cleared, and that's probably unlikely at this point until they clear the vehicle, they are going to cheat. They're going to treat this with kid glove care from here on out.
What is that? Is that the child?
And Chris, is this a female or male occupant driving?
I can't tell. It looks like a Rob. Is that a man? It's a baby in a man's arms. That is a baby in his arms. Oh. That is a baby in his arms. And how did that baby get to the front seat is my sudden question. Was he driving like that with a baby just sitting in the passenger seat or on his lap the whole time? I can't even imagine. I cannot imagine. But it appears to be, we'll see here. We'll have a really clear view here in a second. That appears to be a small infant in his arms. But it's a woman. Is it a woman or a man? I can't tell. It's a male. Well, either way, the suspect is stepping out of the vehicle from showing both hands. Now in the back seat. There is somebody in the back seat. There is somebody in the back seat. The passenger has now opened up the driver's side door and the back seat. You just can't believe that person has just led the LA County Sheriff's Department on a wild and dangerous pursuit in the middle of rush hour with a baby in that vehicle and other people inside of that car. This is just incredible, and hopefully he cooperates from here on out. This is just incredible.
Yeah, these are surprises. We're often surprised on what gets out of these vehicles at the end of pursuit, and it goes to show you never know. And that's why they always have to handle it where they have to be prepared for any possibility. This is one of those pursuits where the unexpected is happening from one moment to the next.
No kidding.
Right. I mean, look at this.
Wow.
This is giving me so much agita, guys. They cannot see his hands. Is he reaching for a baby or is he reaching for a gun?
Wow. It looks like he was hugging the person hugging the person in the back seat.
They have no idea.
It puts them in such a precarious situation.
This is the worst. This is the worst situation I can imagine in this scenario.
Oh my goodness.
They are pretty much handcuffed on how they could approach this. If it does suddenly turn violent, they have a really almost impossible situation to deal with, knowing that there is an infant child that is in harm's way.
Here comes the person in the back seat with the baby.
Here comes a woman out of the back seat with child, driver stepping out of the vehicle, and now, okay, this is not what they what they want to see here. This is not what they want to see.
Well, it
You
sounds
wonder
like
if he's
yeah.
This is
Yeah.
a very intense moment with a lot of real life emotions and drama playing out here. But now you can see the woman coming towards those officers with child. Whether she was a willing participant or not, they will figure it out very quickly. They're going to take custody of the child temporarily because obviously somebody's being charged with child endangerment.
Oh my
But
goodness.
finally, it is up to the suspect to just give up peacefully at this point now that the baby is out of the picture. But this is about as tense as it gets, guys.
Well, thank goodness he's complying now with the orders, at least with both hands up and backing up.
That was stressful to watch. And keep in mind that the car is not clear. We don't know what else is in that car. And
that's right.
We've been surprised before, and that's where they're going to handle it as well, try to take care of this suspect, and then they'll check the vehicle. But this is going in the right direction, Chris.
There is so much training that comes into play in a situation like this. They drill for this all the time, and this is a perfectly executed felony stop here. After a wild chase that has come to a relatively peaceful end, these deputies faced with so many life or death decisions as they try and just wrap this up, and they're going to continue to treat this very carefully until they know for sure, as you mentioned, David, that that vehicle is completely cleared. But look at that. A dangerous driver involved in a robbery of some sort. You see the woman being placed into handcuffs until they figure out what her participation level was, and that innocent baby now in the custody of the LA County Sheriff's Department as they attempt to clear that vehicle. And you can see they have not taken their eyes off of that vehicle, nor have they taken their gun sights off that vehicle.
Right, just when you think we've seen every pursuit imaginable, you get a new surprise. That's incredible.
There's a lot of things to be thankful for at this stage, even though the car has not been cleared, so that's probably the next step. But as fast as he was driving, 80 miles an hour on surface streets with no reaction time, and then now to find out there was an infant child and a woman in the back seat of that vehicle, it's really remarkable that we're at this point, and so far so good when it comes to not seeing anybody getting hurt or any severe damage or anything like that.
And it looks like no movement in that car. So that.
Yep, approaching it very slowly, and it looks like they can rest easy here in just a second. The only thing left is popping open that trunk to make sure. But right now it does appear that they are prepared to issue the code 4 here in just a second. That would be an all clear. There's the code 4. Trunk is empty, and now we can say that this has come to a peaceful resolution, but not without some very, very tense moments after just an extremely dangerous chase here that's ending just south of Culver City.
Look at that
heartbreaking
shot.
to watch to see that little child with the officer.
The deputy with the child trying to
goodness.
comfort the baby, and hopefully everything's okay when it comes to that. What an episode. What a pursuit.
And we'll keep you posted on finding out.